I'm still eating the pizza while you do the intros, just so you know.
Alright, that's good. What is going on, guys? It's Pizza, Yoji. And today we're gonna watch Project PT eat pizza. It's going to be pretty good. And we're gonna talk Path of Exile mainly. Usually this is not a Path of Exile podcast, but today it's going to be a Path of Exile podcast because GGG were so rude to introduce and to us prophecy challenge leagues, like right before we were doing this podcast. So basically,
Exactly. And we were specifically going to try not to focus on PoE today.
yeah, but didn't work out.
Yeah, that did not work out. We failed. Clearly, GGG's fault.
Yeah.
What
Also,
are you
we found out what
most
PT
excited
stands for. It's pizza troll.
It's a troll.
It's definitely pizza troll.
Clearly.
Clearly. GGG tossed at us a huge set of announcements about the new league, new content coming with the new league, how basically the basic mechanics will work, which is actually quite a lot of new content to be looked at. And
More than I expected.
Yeah, more than I expected as well, because they specifically said that it's not going to be a big expansion, it's just going to be a small content update like Talisman. This is more than Talisman, though. This is definitely more than Talisman. Because we will also be getting an endgame Labyrinth on top of the new league. So like a next step Labyrinth. Some new skills and items, which is basically what we expected. Balance changes.
And then all the prophecies,
And
which
the
are
prophecy stuff, which is huge.
vague. We know how they work, but without knowing the list of what they do, we know like we can get master rep and treasure chest, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, that's kind of like what it does. There were like a lot of hints. I've actually like spent the last 3 or 4 hours on stream like collecting bits and pieces from everywhere, from Reddit and other pieces, and we watched some of the hilarious coverages from third-party sites about we can trade now and all that kind of stuff.
All right, so before we go into some of the more details, the third-party site coverage. What was your favorite moment other than the we can trade?
We can trade was pretty good. Also, I tried to read something from one of the sites, like just a written article, but it was written in such a weird way I couldn't just keep going anymore.
Wait. By any chance, was it the article
something
on
bomb?
Yeah. Oh, great. So we went through the MMO bomb, and I was lacerating that guy's English skills because.
I mean, I'm not a native speaker, but I realized something there was written in a way that I just didn't want to continue reading it anymore. And I actually skipped over it.
Jason Winter is incompetent. Just saying that out there. That was the writer of that article. It was so bad.
But yeah, you actually ripped the whole thing apart and read the chat. That's pretty good. Yeah, I just went through the intro and was like, why would you introduce it by talking about the developer when it's about the game? And then at that point I was done.
And one of the other things that they did that was really funny is they would say GGG, but they never defined GGG to mean grinding gear games.
Oh yeah, that's cool as well.
Which if you know Path of Exile, that's not a problem, but that's not what the article's written for.
Yeah, I think the main point about the articles is to give Path of Exile exposure outside its own community, while within the community, I mean, everyone will look at what the Path of Exile streamers say, because we play the game all the time, and people will come to Ziggy D, to Lifting Nerd Bro, to you, to me, to whoever else, Mathil, and they want to hear their opinions on the stuff. So that's not what the articles can be for at all.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that one was, the writing was interesting.
But they got MMO Huts again, and MMO Huts, as last time, delivered a really good video. That was pretty cool. MMO Huts, thumbs up. Last time they were the only ones who really got a good reveal video going for an Ascendancy class during Ascendancy, and this time again they made a 10-minute video. It was the same guy, I think, and they actually just introduced it really well. It was a really well made 10-minute introduction.
Yeah, I enjoyed. The only video that was odd was the 4 things to look forward into the Parandus.
Yeah.
Or sorry, not the Parandus, the prophecy. It was like, trade. Okay.
Also, 4 is an odd number. 4 always seems like they didn't have enough points for make a 5-point list.
Yeah.
and there's clearly enough to make a 5-point list.
At the end of the 4th point, they went on about some other things in tangent. I'm like, why didn't you just make 5?
Yeah, 5 sounds way better.
Yeah.
5, 10. You can make like 7 or 8, which usually means like, okay, you didn't have enough for a good 10-point list, but that's kind of excusable because 10 points sometimes is a stretch. But 4 points seems like, hey, there's something a little bit awesome about this, but not really enough.
But I personally just hate list videos. What are your thoughts on list videos?
I think they are kind of all right if I just want to get, I don't know, how do I say this? If I just want to so not think about it much and just like have some random points thrown at me to maybe think about later or whatever. And they're just like easy to digest. Well, like the presentation going in. And I think that's why they kind of work well, because if you click on a list video, it's not going to be someone babbling 5 hours about something random you don't want to hear.
True.
It's going to be like concise, well-presented points.
True. And I do like that, but I agree 4 was a bit odd. So what do you want to talk about Prophecy first? Which comes out on June 3rd, if I'm not incorrect.
Yeah, June 3rd is a Friday. I'm going to start. Like, just as any league starts on Friday these days. I like that they never changed that. You can kind of rely on, if like early June's going to come out, going to be a new league, it's going to be a Friday, so you kind of narrow it down, take your days of work or whatever. But yeah, I would just love to talk about the Prophecy League and the league mechanics that we know in general at first, because I think that's actually the part I was positively surprised the most. I didn't expect it too much of an exciting league mechanic. Although Chris Will said this might be the most, this will be the most awesome league ever. And yeah.
It looks like it has some of the fun elements that Dark Shrines had. Like the core mechanic is that we're going to get the prophecies, obviously. So there's the silver coins that apparently should drop on average once per zone. Zone size are variable and maps are different than leveling zones, so that's a bit confusing. And then we can trade in those silver coins for prophecies. But the only prophecies that we know is the ability to increase a master rate spawn. Well, not to guarantee a master to spawn within some determinate period of time that we don't know. An item to drop to convert all enemies into chests in a zone.
Yeah, that sounds pretty hilarious, to be honest.
Which someone made the comment, if that works in maps and you're going to get the chance of Cardos, what?
Also, it multiplies the enemies, right? You convert every enemy into into 3 packs of enemies. What? How much experience is this per one map? You do that in tier 12, tier 13? That's gonna be done. I don't think it's going to be that crazy.
Very rare thing.
It's either very rare or maybe it just converts packs into boxes or something like that. But that would kind of make more sense. Because enemies, internally, I assume enemies are kind of grouped in packs, right? They're spawned in groups of similar enemies. So maybe they could remove all the packs.
Think of Beyond mapping that.
Yeah. That would be pretty fun, yeah, Beyond with that.
So Ryan Dutch is asking Master what? So one of the things is, so all of the prophecies are things that will happen. It doesn't instantaneously spawn it, but it guarantees that event will occur in the near future.
Basically, as soon as it can occur. So as soon as you enter a zone where this can happen, it will most of the time happen.
Not 100%, because that was one of the things. If there's a Xana prophecy, you would be able to double your maps, because every Xana would spawn a map within the map, and you can actually use silver coins to convert a prophecy to an item and sell that prophecy. So you can sell Master Rep.
Yeah, you can, but I mean that kind of will regulate itself. Either it's going to be pretty rare, or just really expensive if players will want that. People will want high level
Extra
masters
both.
And stuff like that.
Oh yeah, Zen. I was talking about that, and I don't know what your thoughts of first week racing Xana prophecies.
Could be, depending on how rare they actually are. If it's really high rarity, it will be not influence racing too much, because if you can only push Xana a little bit, that's not gonna help. But if they are somewhat common, people can actually mass buy them. If you have a group of racing people, like Havoc has, for example, where a lot of people pooling together to race, one person to 100, they could mass buy them, get Xana 8 on day 1 or 2, and then
it's not even getting the Xana 8.
Or 7 or 6 to get the tier 7 maps.
Spawning Xanas in red maps.
Oh yeah, also in red maps, yeah, you can just it's gonna be crazy if you do that. The price is going up. If that actually happens to be profitable, price is going to be pretty high.
Yeah, Colin Survive is saying that Chris already said on Reddit that it's a complicated mechanic to decide when the prophecy occurs after using it. We do know it guarantees the event, but it's not you enter the next zone, it'll happen.
Yep. But it's not supposed to be you get the prophecy and then you have to grind and farm until it happens. It's more it will happen pretty much as long as you go into zones that allow for it, as far as I know. Because they definitely said in several articles where Chris was interviewed, he said that it's not you are supposed to grind for the prophecy to be fulfilled.
It is to remove RNG.
Yeah. It's the opposite. Yeah, it's to remove RNG and make it. It's basically so that prophecy will happen pretty much.
And we only know like those 4 vaguish possibilities when we also know there's between 150 and 200. So
That's always good.
Yeah.
Having more is always nice because that means there's more like randomness to it.
I have a feeling many of those are just going to be kind of like copy and paste stuff, the same way that there's like 300 helm enchants, but 150 of them are just 25% damage on X skill.
I mean, there's going to be like some for each master. There will be like for different uniques. There will be these things that we saw. There was one that converts uniques or something like this, where you have to wear a unique and use it to make it a better unique.
Yeah, the fate items.
Yeah, which we can talk about later as well, I think.
Yes.
I think if we stick to the prophecies, what I really like is that some of them actually alter zones as well. That was sad. There was an example in the there's a Val invasion one, which significantly alters Lunaris Temple, for example. So if you go into Lunaris Temple, it's going to be at very different zones, probably with different Val enemies invading the zone, and it's going to actually make the zone different, which is pretty cool while leveling as well. You have such a prophecy, and you
yeah, and I'm kind of curious about that one because it seems such a oddly specific prophecy to change a zone. Like, why wouldn't they just spawn a zone? What's the lore reason? So there's something going on with that one. It's oddly, the mechanics to it are a bit peculiar.
Yep, there are several ones of these. There's one. There was also one where it says that you will kill a specific boss in that zone, like in the Northern Forest, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, and I like the idea of just random bosses coming to fuck you up.
Yep, I like that as well. I really like that as well. The thing is, it's not as random. It's not as with Beyond, where like you can randomly spawn a Beyond boss, because you know, hey, in this zone there will be a boss that will try to fuck me up because I have a prophecy that tells me that. So it's like you can actually go there and be like, hey, I want to maybe he drops some cool loot, something like this.
But one related to that, you could get a prophecy that sucks. Let's say make up one to exist. This would be a speculation.
You get half of it.
What if there's a prophecy that spawns Tunnel Trap? Mm-hmm. That would suck. But you can use silver coins to convert a prophecy into a tradable item.
And remove it.
To remove it from happening.
Yep. That's also pretty cool. If you're like, I don't know how it is if you have a prophecy that is like, hey, summon Tunnel Trap in like one of the next zones you go into. And you have this, and it activates, because activating it will remove the item, right? And put it into your quest log. But in your quest log, it stays.
Yes.
So whenever I go into the zone, it will like keep happening until I complete it. Is that how it works?
I believe so.
So that would be pretty cool, because then you would have to sometimes remove them, because maybe you don't want to fight Dominus ghosted with Malachi Ghost or whatever.
Exactly, and you can only have, was it 6 or 8 prophecies at a single point in time?
Oh yeah, that's like, I think it's like 8 or something like that. 6.
So there is going to
it's 6.
So there is going to be situations where you can dump silver coins into buying prophecies, then use coins to remove prophecies and to fish for the one you want. It's 6.
6? It's 6? No, it's 7. It says up to 6
7.
others, so it's 7 apparently.
Well, fucking
Whatever.
English.
Numbers.
Oh, fuck numbers. They're terrible. Worst thing ever.
So, yeah. Yeah, I know that they are removed when you the item is removed once it goes into your quest log, so you can't trigger the item, like the prophecy from an item, and resell the prophecy or keep reusing it, because that would be dumb.
Correct.
Because people on Reddit were already looking for loopholes, and Chris instantly stated like, yeah, we're not that stupid, guys. We're not that stupid.
Never. That was like the people when they said about the talismans, and people were like, oh, I used the recipe for 5 of a base to get an uncorrupted talisman. It's like, they're not going to let that happen.
Exactly.
What do you think about the ability to sell prophecies? Do you like it, or do you think it would be more interesting if you were forced to deal with the prophecies you got?
So the thing about selling prophecies is that it will lead to more prophecies being explored faster, right? Because once you can, people will keep buying prophecies, and then like the active part of the community will have seen all prophecies because they get access to it without like RNG elements. You can just spend some chaos, buy some prophecies, all that. The thing is, I kind of think it would be cool if you couldn't sell them, but at the end of the day, it's always nice when a challenge league like changes how we look at trade. So I kind of like both sides of it. I can definitely see like upsides and downsides of both sides.
Well, it was very similar to me, and I think there's a lot of good comparisons between Prophecy and Dark Shrines. Dark Shrines had some hilariously rippy stuff, but you didn't have to ever activate it. you had so much control over the threats.
Yeah.
And it seems it would be nice. Maybe we have a bit too much control. Obviously, that's a speculation, but the fact that you can remove a prophecy. So if there's ever anything that would be a threat outside of the vanilla content of the game, you can pay a coin, and that's it.
Do you like that or you don't like that?
I dislike that.
I think it's important to not like overwhelm some players, because if you get unlucky, there were like some pretty crazy stuff. I saw a video about one where a Chevron spirit will go into Brooders and make it basically so you
storm calls, frost or
storm bearers, storm calls, and he also does like lightning on hit or something like this. So he basically makes Brooders insanely difficult. If you get that thing in normal, just like because you talk to the NPC as a new player, I don't think you. I mean, they always say not many people get past Brutus. I don't think many new people get past this Brutus ever.
Yeah, that Brutus is going to be a bit of a bitch.
So yeah, just for those outliers, it would be kind of nice maybe to have a way to remove it. But then the way to remove it will probably be pretty much hidden anyways, because not many people will think about making it an item and throwing it away.
I would be happy if there were, quote, cursed prophecies that you can't remove. That would kind of be a happy medium for me. So we'll see what
also
really
be cool
happening.
If you could, maybe one cool thing that they could do with it, I don't know if they will, it actually is possible, but I would expect them to announce it if it was. If you could Val them, and then that would randomly change them and make them permanent.
What was the color of the items again?
Purple.
Let me just quickly check. Oh, it's purple, so they are different.
Yeah, they
Valing them. Okay.
different.
This is obviously not it, and that's me in magical fairy tale land that doesn't exist. Imagine you could force prophecies onto other players.
That would be so funny. That would be so funny. I mean,
yeah.
Even if they just like limited it to like friend list or guild mates or something like this, so you can't like put it onto random people, but you could at least like troll your friends. That would be so fun. We're like, hey, by the way, yeah, have fun with this Dominus fight.
Exactly.
So cool.
Or you're like mid-map, everyone's feeling fine. You're like, well, fuck you, I'm leaving. He just looted a mirror or something. I'm pissed.
Yeah, PK Prophecy League confirmed. I mean, that would be a very Dark Souls-y thing to do, but I would love it.
Maybe I've been playing too much Dark Souls.
Yeah,
that's a possibility.
I just love it. I don't think it's possible to play too much Dark Souls.
Shh, I'm sure there is.
So yeah, we got this. We got silver coins, which you get like one per monster per zone will drop, so you get like one every few zones because you don't really full clear all zones, right? So we get like a few coins, but you always.
But they said like average once per zone, and is that like an average once per zone clear speed? Is that an average mapped zone? It's not. There is one coin that spawns in every zone.
Is it not? I thought it was like one coin.
It says on average we should.
Approximately one monster per area drops a silver coin. Okay.
It is not. Every area has one coin by definition.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people misread.
And it also doesn't mean you get one on average per zone. It means on average one monster per zone drops one. So if you full clear zone, that's what it sounds like. So
it does sound that way. But then the problem is there's a different amount of mobs in Ledge than there is in maps. So there's.
So yeah,
what zones is it balanced around?
But it's kind of like you will get I kind of expect them to be kind of like maybe like talismans, that you've encountered them like one per zone or something. That's kind of what on average what you got talisman mobs from.
Actually, I would expect very similar numbers.
Yep, me as well.
But then there are also the chains prophecies, which are.
That's what I wanted to jump to.
All right, well then you do that because
I'm the host
I was
here.
doing the segue.
I'm the main host first. You're just here for opinions. Nobody cares about you moderating this.
Yeah,
what is this? Yeah, chain prophecies are basically prophecies that once you complete one prophecy, it will unlock the possibility of you getting the next level of this prophecy later at some point. And yeah, apparently this can chain to a point where at the end of this chain you will get a very big reward. Reward.
And some of the rewards, apparently you could get a fragment piece to spawn the Pale Council event, which we know absolutely nothing about. You could get a league-specific unique.
Yeah.
Or just something like that. That's all we know.
Yep. So, yeah, it seems like for the Pale Council, it looks suspiciously like an Aziri fragment, so I would guess that there are 4 of them, and you put them into the map device. That's kind of... I think that's
it's stated
almost
that
given.
It's 4.
It's always states that it's 4. Yeah, okay, then you put them into the map device, and that will work like this.
How difficult do you want the Pale Council fight to be?
I think at Aziri level would be cool. normal Iziri level,
That would make sense.
and then make an Uber council that basically exists the same way as Uber Iziri by farming the council. I think that would be Iziri is so successful as a type of content. Why just not do it? It's lazy, but it works. All right, and we had the problem with Rigwald that he could have kind of been in that niche, but it was such a pain in the ass to farm.
I was very unhappy that Rigwald is not in the game currently.
Yeah, I hope he makes a comeback at some point.
And one of the other things that we know is that Dark Shrine mechanics, especially the Fate uniques, which we'll cover, won't continue. So I'm concerned that this is too temporary, and it's always one of those, hey, we have nice stuff, keep it in the game, please.
I mean, they always have the chance to bring it back. Chris Wilson said on State of Exile once that they will look to bring some talisman back in Stormford at some point. And so, yeah, I can kind of see it maybe returning at a future league. Which would be just such a waste to never bring it back ever, because it's new content that is already developed and ready and has been played before and it's interesting. So why not have it in the game sometimes?
Like Rigwald, please give us Rigwald.
Yeah. Another thing I'm a bit afraid with these chains is that they will be a pain in the ass to grind to the point where Talisman was a pain in the ass to grind. So that it will be.
It seems it might be worse.
Yeah, it seems it might actually be worse. I mean, you can still buy them, but you could also buy talismans, and buying talismans was also something a lot of people kind of didn't want to do, because for Rigwald to be rewarding, you kind of have to farm him. Like, if you spend, like, I don't know, 20 chaos on getting to the Rigwald fight, and then you do Rigwald and you get a 5 chaos unique, that's not worth it.
Well, there's going to be the situation like they have with divination cards, like they had with the Rigwald uniques, where there's something that is potentially valuable, but the rarity is not balanced correctly, or there's going to be something where for some reason one of 3 prophecies are giving you a Hedges era. There's going to be one unique that's oddly high drop rate. There's going to be one event that's oddly low drop rate. What really matters is if the Pale Council needs a reason to do it.
Yes.
And that's the important thing. Regardless of the fun of the encounter, regardless of the difficulty, does it have a loot table? And what is that loot table? If it is just a fight, then it's like, okay, whatever.
I'm not so concerned about the legacy uniques, basically, like the old league uniques. Like, if there's a quest chain for, I don't know, Volt's Devotion, that is like difficult enough, for example, people will do that, and that will be like interesting to do. That's an alternate way to gain that unique that you normally couldn't get as easily. And you actually have to like work for it and not just randomly encounter a fat guy taking your coins, which I think is a lot better than Piranha's League. Just like, so you actually have to like have a quest you can pursue and you can work towards in different steps, because it's like a multiple level prophecy chain. I think that's a really cool. It's kind of like divination cards as well, where even if you buy divination cards one by one, it's kind of still a little bit satisfying, because even if you can't afford it yet, you can buy like 1, 2, 3, 4 Brittle Emperors and whatever, and you will be like, okay, today I got like 2 more Brittle Emperors. I'm closer to completing my cool, awesome unique. I really like that about divination cards, even if you buy them and not farm them.
And the interesting thing that Prophecy allows you to add in is, unlike divination cards where you just buy the set, this is buy the set and complete a challenge.
Yeah.
So they can make Rippy prophecies.
Exactly.
Dirty Dan is like Project PT staring at our comments, secretly reading in his head, look at this dumb ass, comma, run-on sentence, comma.
That's how this works. That's how this works.
I guess I'm always going to be tentative, and the concepts are looking good. Execution.
But I think I think that as well. I mean, execution, we can't really say anything about that
exactly
about it at this point. It could be
just
that they nail it. It could be they get it all right and patch it up a little bit. Could be that it's horrible, but I think
it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah,
it's going to be what they respond to. Certain things are. Hopefully, we don't have like. I remember the start of Beyond when everything had allies regen, and it was like, oh no.
Yeah, that was a bit much. But I think they learned quite a bit. I mean, Piranhas was pretty much a success, I would say, minus the longevity of the league was a little bit mad, because people just got annoyed by the nature of the Piranhas mobs.
Well,
the performance problems, of course. But yeah, the performance problems is something they obviously didn't design to be in the game. They just screwed that up.
Do you like that they have the returning league-specific items, or something that generates them?
Yes. I love it. I love it. I think there should be like some ways in the game to get those uniques like frequently, because I like building around them. They are enabled builds, and it's kind of like the same thing of we have these items in the game. It's a waste to not have them at all next league.
I kind of completely agree with those points. It's just,
Boo.
and especially the janky ones, which are never worth
Yeah.
spending tons and tons of exalts and chancing.
Yeah, I can probably buy a like I don't know wonky weird like Joe has Black Steel Prophecy Chain. Nobody will complete that ever, especially if it's a bit dangerous. I can actually go out of my way and can go there and
So then,
do that.
do you have a janky plan already?
I'm actually thinking about playing something with animate weapons this league, but not with a new cloak, because I don't know. I don't think it's actually worth it at the end.
I
Unless you
agree.
go
A lot of
Nullification.
people were like, "Wow, that cloak's amazing," but it's like, you know that animate weapon usually has so many items you don't animate them all.
Well, the thing is, I would use the cloak for would probably be for the extra life leech gem and put my specters in there so they leech.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like the blind was interesting, but the
Yep.
problem with animate weapon is the life leech gem is going to make your animate weapons in a 6 link cost something like 300 and something mana per cast.
Yeah, I'd probably put the animate weapons in the Femur of Saints for the +2 to levels, which is insane. Also increases the mana cost, but the level bonus animate weapon gets is pretty crazy, so
Exactly.
might actually be worth it.
I think that would probably be the better option.
That's just like one of a bazillion builds that I have.
Are you going to be doing solos? How did you end up enjoying the solo self-found for Parandus with SRS?
SRS is insanely strong, so it worked pretty damn well. I'm in like map levels now, like Dried Laking, and I actually don't have any maps at the moment, which is pretty funny. Like any.
That's kind of
I
annoying.
did a few tier 1 maps, and then I just ran out of maps. So I don't have a 5-link staff yet, but yeah, it's all right. The experience was way smoother than I expected, but the leveling experience was more fun. But what I don't like about Self-Found is how much it limits you to play the builds you want to play, because you kind of have to choose
You have to
builds
do
to play
a lot
around
of
what you
solo
find.
self-found to have
Yeah.
options.
And so I'm kind of probably not going to do it, but I will probably find some weird self-imposed challenge related to trade
No
to make the
flasks.
game harder to me. No flask, yeah. I'm just going to put the minions flask belt on every character.
What do you have any ideas for that challenge yet for 2.3?
No, not really.
Are bots legal in Path of Exile? No, they are not. You are allowed to have 2 clients open at the same point in time on any PC. So you're allowed dual account, but no botting, obviously.
Yep. And you allow macros that use play one command for you at a time.
Going back to the chain prophecies, I'm always worried when you have a chain prophecy, which I guess we can tie into the fated uniques, because it's like if you wanted something rare, why not just have one rare event, then have a common tier rarity, the mid tier rarity, the high tier rarity, and it's a bit of a. I'm wondering if it really serves a purpose. Is it gonna make you feel like you completed a quest, or is it just gonna be this random annoyance for no reason?
Yeah, that's kind of the question. Probably it will depend also on how they I don't know, like create them thematically and how that all feels. If there's actually like a story being told within the quest, if there's actually like it kind of makes sense and is like satisfying to do. For example, you kill like some monkeys and then you find out, hey, that's where the monkeys came from or whatever. So there's like some story element to it. I would.
Oh yeah,
like that.
there's definitely, that would be an interesting thing. The other thing though is you're gonna have to remember that like the Lord's one, there's 3 or 4 stages to get a fragment, which means you have to do RNG stages to get a fragment, and that's potentially the most common of the 4 fragments, which means it's like having the only way to do it is through a divination card set of fragment pieces.
I mean, a lot of people do the Izaro fragment piece, and also for the future, one could make divination cards for the council pieces and for later leagues. Maybe
That
would be very interesting.
Yeah, but I will say that it's not going to be a good design process if the only way that we can get league specific items or
that's
events is if someone wants to fork over $1,000, like the Rigwald Curse amulet.
Yeah, and I definitely think so as well. I mean, there might also be a Rigwald
Which
Curse
whoever did
prophecy,
that
for
amulet,
example.
thanks for spending $1,000 because we all appreciate it.
That was Waxen.
Waxen?
Waxen.
Oh, good job, Waxen.
Yep. Yeah, he did. I think a lot of people wanted to play with that, especially hardcore players who never really got a chance to use that.
Oh, and
Hardcore leagues.
Xeno's just happy.
Yeah, Xeno's just like probably theory crafting up 5 billion different trees with this already.
2 point. That's his first thing he's going to do. All his currency is going to be to buy that amulet.
Yes.
And then he's going to continue that and do 14 different crit facebreaker builds. And he's going to be like, yes, good job.
Talking about Xeno, there's also a 2000 armor chest piece now for level 30.
It's actually 2,400. It's not quality.
Oh, it's not quality. Damn. Yeah, it's not quality.
Yeah, people. Everyone's like 2,000. It's 2,400. No quality, people.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Permanent granite.
So that's a thing. Like, obviously, it's not good enough to bring into red tiers to justify, but holy shit, that armor while leveling.
Not needing a granite flask while leveling, basically.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I like having 3 life flasks while leveling, just so I can like ignore more enemies and just be more reckless. And then having a granite permanently up. Pretty nice. It's pretty nice.
So the Fate uniques, we know 3 of them, and that's it seems like it's part of the chain prophecies, where
Yes.
you do one event and you're going to have to complete a challenge while having that unique equipped. The only 3 we know are the Death Harp, the Bramblejack, and the Kurai Ward.
Yeah.
When you complete it, it's going to give you a fated version, which has an extra roll on it. Now, the thing about that is there be multiple stages of fated uniques. We do know that fated uniques will not return at the end of the league, as quoted by Chris in the MMO Bomb article. It says they're only for this league.
Good thing you read through that thing.
Yeah, I did. It gave some fun laughs. Like, that person needs to learn how to use a comma. So that is interesting. Obviously, they could return. But we only have 3. What are your thoughts on the Fated so far?
It's interesting. It's interesting. I think like the ones that we got are mainly just like powerful versions of leveling uniques. So you basically gotta get a way of if they make the prophecy so that we can actually like reasonably complete them while leveling, you could actually make your leveling uniques level with you.
But you would need to get the prophecy and potentially the unique, unless it's like the first stage of the prophecy gives you the unique, the second prophecy
That would be
upgrades
cool.
the unique.
That would be actually cool if that happened. Another thing is could be if you get the unique, you could just buy the unique from other players, right? You could be like, okay, I got this Bramblejack thing. I'm playing a Marauder. I mean, why not just buy a Bramblejack, kill the Reso with it, get 2,000 armor, and level like I don't know, really chill through Cruel. I think that's the thing I can see happening. Maybe they even could make it so that the prophecies are more likely to occur if you are wearing this item. So if I'm having a Karui ward equipped, I'm more likely to get the Karui ward prophecy. That would be really nice.
I would think that would be interesting. And then you'd have people running around in non-optimized gear related to prophecy farming.
I mean, what they would do, they would just like equip it in town, go to the chest, equip random bunch of uniques, go to talk to whatever her name is, and be like, here, have a silver coin, give me a prophecy, and then you go back and unequip all that stuff. But I mean, if they never really announced that, that would be cool because it would still make the experience of the players who happen to wear those uniques better.
And they did state it's for the lower, like the leveling unique tier of stuff. So then,
It seems like it, yeah.
of all the leveling uniques, what would you want to see a fated unique?
I would like to see Reverberation Rod that goes from level 1 to level 30 Echo. Just be Pledge of Hands with in a wand for leveling. That would be really cool. Hey, if I can have 2,400 armor, I can also have the Pledge of Hands in miniature form.
Well, I you know what? I completely understand. When you say that, I'm like, well, I read Bramble. I'm looking at Veil of the Night. There's going to be a Veil of the Night one.
I think so too.
On the stream earlier, I was like, if you added one property, the only property I could see added to Veil of Night to make it useful would be to take elemental damages chaos above the 75% margin. And that means you could have
CI it or something.
CI it, or you just
Chaos resist.
it's a one resist build.
Yeah, I could see that, and the challenge would be really cool. You could do something really crazy, like beat Izaro with Veil of the Night. It is possible. The thing is, you would have to dodge all the storm calls and all the flame blasts, of course, perfectly.
Well, to be completely fair, you would do it with a Bladefall Trapper, never go in the room and get the free kill.
Yes, but some people would probably still do it.
True,
it would,
true. That
will
happen.
It would keep people to do some challenging content and silly stuff that normally they wouldn't. So, beat Call Malachi with a Quill Rain.
Explosive arrow, not that bad.
Oh, single target's pretty meh.
Oh yeah, and hitting the hearts. There's no walls,
yes.
so
still pretty good.
I do like that it would cause janky, stupid stuff, and I now kind of wish they had that idea where certain prophecies would spawn if you're wearing things, which would encourage people to do things outside of just that event.
Yes.
That'd be really neat. How dare you? How dare you make me think about those glorious things?
Yeah, I think just in general, like making people use certain uniques to try to kill bosses with it, for example, is pretty cool. And also, like the whole thematic thing is pretty cool because I'm currently playing like complete tangent here. I'm currently playing a pen and paper RPG where you can earn fame for your characters. And I'm the dungeon master, so like some of my characters actually have a goal of some of the players have a goal with their character to earn a certain level of fame. And what you can then do is you can, instead of having the fame on your character and getting like social bonuses, what you can do instead is you can claim, my weapon helped me do this, and then the weapon gains the fame and becomes stronger while and gains special abilities. And that kind of goes into the same thing, because you're like, with this death harp, I slayed the Reso, and then suddenly it's cooler.
That's actually... being able to give a specific item experience, like we're in complete tangent mode. So if you thought we were talking about 2.3, wow, you should not read the title. That is a system that I've always liked when ARPGs try to incorporate it, but it's also to make it meaningful, not broken, but also still allow you to change gear without completely butt fucking you is very hard to do. Because the problem when you give experience to the gear is gear swapping.
Yeah, gear swapping, and also the whole idea of like an ARPG or like a loot-based ARPG is about looting stuff, equipping new items, upgrading your gear. That's a large part of this game. And if you take that away by making your items level with you, that kind of goes against the point of the game.
Kind of fucked.
But yeah, I like that. I don't think they're overdoing it with this. So it's not like you're gonna use this Death's Harp till like, I don't know, Endgame, unless you really want to make a Death's Harp build. Because 1 additional arrow, 2 additional arrows, it's a big upgrade.
Well, it does have 150% crit multi, which means if you were using it on a cast on crit build, and using so you're getting 2 additional arrows for the built-in LMP, you use it for cast on crit, so that you're not hindered by the base damage of the bow.
Yep.
And, as you know, getting max critical strike chance in the current game is not difficult if you want to. There is a build, but would you use it over Quill Rain?
Yeah, the attack speed is pretty low. It's like 1.3. It's not very nice for a cast on crit build. You would have to get some source of a lot of attack speed. Maybe the Nukaru reward. 19%. The start. But yeah, you would have to get some more attack speed. I probably wouldn't use it over a high attack speed base or high crit base. You save so many stats for 150 crit multi. You can also get
also the crit multi is just going to kind of get you killed.
That too.
Anything else to talk about the Fate uniques? The problem with Fate uniques, it's just kind of like, it's an interesting thing, but we need to know the uniques to say more.
Yeah, I think it has a ton of potential. As we mentioned a lot of things. It has a ton of potential to spice up the leveling process, introduce people. Challenges to people that they can like try to overcome, like equipping dumb uniques to slay insanely difficult bosses, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I think that's a lot of potential.
I think the major concern that I have with the Fate uniques is because they are being phased out with the change of the league, unless drastic favoritism, we fight them and threaten to burn down their building if they remove them. I think it's going to be quite similar to Val skills. There's going to be some obviously strong ones, like 1 or 2. There's going to be a couple of shitty ones that people understand why you use them, and then most of them are going to be like, all right, whatever.
I kind of think
So
that as well.
whereas it's one of those interesting mechanics because there's tons of us that like a unique property of a low level item that you wish you could apply it at a more powerful level, and this could be something that they could expand their uniques without having to do new art, without having to do new base concepts.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. That's actually true. It's not too much work. They just alter the stats on an existing unique. And they basically only have to do the balancing and idea work and not the whole art and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that's why I thought that it was a little bit of a shame that they were going to phase it out because I'm like, that's a good permanent tool to have.
Yep.
So that was my issue with that. I was like, just it's so efficient. It allows you to recycle in a way that is not offensive and use it.
Yeah.
Please.
That's true. It actually is like a way of recycling uniques that feel to the player feels like it's something cool and awesome and interesting, while actually it saves a lot of time at the same time. We still have to make the prophecy for it, but I don't know how much that work is. But yeah, overall, it's pretty nice. Also, Wanderlust with 200 DSs, and I just read in chat. That would be pretty interesting.
Everyone's been saying like Solaris Lorica with like 700 energy shield. They're just taking good item, putting broken stats. It's like,
I mean, Wanderlust with 200 DS, it still has like no res on it, right? And it's only 20% movement speed. It's not 30. So that actually kind of makes sense. It's just
it would be, it wouldn't be stupid.
and it's not Skyforth. That's a big downside of any ES boots. Not being Skyforth is pretty
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, I can agree with that comment. So then that brings us to the Labyrinth.
Yeah, the Labyrinth.
So just to update, there is going to be trials that spawn, not the lab, trials that spawn in high-end maps. You only now have to do a trial once over the entire league. So in normal, once you've done it on one character, all your normals are unlocked permanently. Same
Yes.
with Cruel, same with Merciless, and then same with the new Endgame one. Now, it does not say that the new Labyrinth is in maps. It says the trials are in maps. From there, we have the 75 enchants that were datamined, which are broken as fuck. And you are getting 2 more Ascendancy points for the first time you complete the, let's call it, Uber Izaro encounter.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on 8 Ascendancy points?
8 Ascendancy points. So I went, like the last few hours, we went with stream, I went through all the Ascendancy classes as they are right now. Of course, they are subject to change, as is stated.
Are you expecting minor changes or major changes to the Ascendancies?
Some of them will get major changes, I think. Some of the like completely underused ones will get major changes, I think. Like Slayer, there will be some things that they will just not buff the numbers and keep the themes. They will change some things about Slayer. Maybe, hopefully, Hierophant as well.
Hopefully.
Saboteur actually needs a lot of work, by the way.
Chieftain too, because even if
Yes.
you're happy with Chieftain now, Chieftain does not get much value from 8 points.
Yeah,
It kinda
Saboteur
gets-
is, at the moment is a 4-point ascendancy for trappers, and if you are happen to there's another 2-pointer that gives you a little bit of bonus, and then the 7 and 8 is just I couldn't
Yeah.
find anything I want on that.
Yeah, it
I
was
was
just
like
kinda like-
I would probably just not do it. Like,
Yeah, that's the thing. You might not rip.
can I trade them to skill points?
That'd be interesting.
But yeah, there was nothing really to do there. I think the Scion gets a lot more interesting that way, because now people might actually look into the
Yes,
whole
Scion
the
just
jumping
gets
part.
to leap one of them. That's really all it gets. Either 2 passives or 1 passive and a leap.
Yeah, but now I think now people will actually look more into the leaps, because before it was like you always want the 2 ascendancies, you never want the leap. But right now your choice is basically a leap or a passive point, or 40,
In the
or 40
current
stats.
state of the passive tree, we were having a hard time finding any leaps that were justifiable, other than to the Marauder start because of immediate life nodes,
Yep.
and Pathfinder because of immediate life nodes.
Over the second ascendancy.
Not
Now you don't have now the choice is different. That's the thing.
well, even by picking 2, we were just looking at the numbers and comparing, and it was very hard to justify any of the other leaps when we were taking a look at the numbers today. But we're gonna have a passive tree change, so
Yeah, that as well. So if the passive tree changes, maybe You
And
could
one of the
easily
big
go around
problems
it
was
then.
like the Templar nodes in the Scion are really underwhelming. Same with like the duelist ones.
Yeah, the duelist ones are like the gladiator's alright, I would say. It's not horrible, but
You have your three all stars, which are the occultist, the berserker, and the
Deadeye.
Deadeye. I guess you could also then throw in the raider.
Raider
Like,
is alright, assassin is alright.
yeah, so those are those five would be your all stars, and all the other ones are now. Hopefully, they get some adjustment. I
So
think
yeah, I hope there will be some adjustments there. So to reflect the 8 point problem that some classes will have. Hierophant, like all the weaker classes that already have where you're already struggling to like find 6 good points, will have even more of a problem to find 8 good points, basically.
and then you have the assassin.
And then you have the assassin who can now go like ape shit and take you can finally take the other 4 pointers. So that's pretty crazy. Also, the raider gets really crazy.
The raider, so many of them. Like berserker gets the veil of slaughter and carnage.
And the more damage, because everyone takes the carnage node, 40% more damage. That's why you are a berserker, and then you take 2 other points, right? And now-
Occultist is
well, it gets
absurd.
Yeah, go got full ES node passives and +1 curse. Yes.
Trickster's absurd. Like the
Yeah.
trickster is like, oh no.
The trickster was pretty cool as well. You can finally take the crazy ES evasion stuff. You can also take either the free skill or the dot nodes or the frenzy, 2 of them.
Yeah, always when I was playing the trickster, it was just kind of like, oh, there's a tough choice. Now it's like, fuck it, you get him.
Deadeye is also not bad for certain builds. When you can take the additional projectile and the chain, that's pretty
Yep.
sick. Pathfinder?
And Pathfinder is so insane.
That was really funny. But what I liked about Pathfinder was that you could take, for example, that you can always take the Surgeons now. That's like free. You always
Yes.
take that, and then you can take either get the status ailment stuff, which is kind of alright,
Well, yeah,
or you
if
can
you
take
have-
the other two.
If you had
pointers.
Master Surgeons and Master Alchemists, that means all of your flasks remove bleeds and all status ailments. All of your flasks.
Yeah, and they grant you like movement speed and have insane
And
effectiveness.
their surgeon, you have yeah, that's just like what?
Have you played a Pathfinder yet?
No, because I've played solo self-found since 2.2, and I'm
find
always
too many
like,
flasks. Like no taste of hates and no winters. So.
yeah, I've not. I only got 3 out of the 4 Agenord staffs. I didn't find a taste of hate. I've gotten a couple at series flasks, but and I was doing something else.
Yeah. I didn't try just because there was so much else to try, and I played a Winter build, for example, like the patch before, so I was not too keen on like redoing a flask-centric build. But I'll probably do it again now with 4 points. Not as a first build because the flasks are expensive, but I definitely
Coward.
put a lot of currency into this build and then go back. But yeah, I think it's going to be pretty interesting overall. I think the sanity points is not going to be as much power creep as people think it's going to be for the majority of classes, unless they like rebalance them. But the 2 last points you take are always the weakest for your build usually.
Well, I think the issue comes down to how well the rebalance comes, because when you get 2 more points, now you can make the argument that
Yeah.
Izaro would be hard, but if Izaro's hard, I will make the argument that people will just buy runs. Simple as that.
That's true.
If your class doesn't get value out of all 8 points, you're going to be significantly behind a build that can when you have there will be changes, something like Assassin. Like if you want to make the argument that Chieftain and Assassin are pretty close right now of these 2 specs,
Yep.
that extra 2 points that Assassin gets are going to put it miles ahead.
That is definitely true, yeah.
Something else. And then on top of that power level that we're getting, there's going to be the new tier of enchants, which are roughly 50% better than the Merciless enchants.
Yep. Yeah, they're pretty crazy. The enchants are...
We are using the data mined stuff of the existing enchants, and they are subject to change. But
yeah, I think they're going to be pretty crazy. But that's actually good, because right now people are already complaining that they don't really have too much of an incentive to run the lab and all that. With that extra lab that's going to be higher level, there will be less people being able to run the lab. So the market will be not as saturated with enchants, even if like more people try to run it now. And people have also complained that running the lab was not really worth it because it was eye level 68 and you couldn't really get experience while running the lab. Now you could actually run this lab maybe even to level, like from a certain point, let's say level 80 to 85 or whatever, you just run labs and level that way. Especially if you know the layout, it's fixed seed level grinding. That can be pretty efficient if you know where the most of the stuff is.
Yeah, and that's kind of the interesting part. We don't know if it's just going to be free farmable.
Yeah, that's true.
I it would make sense to, because if it's gated, it's going to be so hilariously expensive that anyone who finds the lab entrance then sells all the portals, and that would suck. That would take the people who don't enjoy the lab system and just punch them in the balls for an hour to make them learn to enjoy it. Like, it would be awful.
Yeah, I would hope that that would be a way to grind it and like farm
But
it for
it's
the
going to
people
be
who
at
want to.
least an eye level 77 zone.
How come?
Based.
Because of the
The enchants are always, or have been previously, two eye levels lower than the zone level.
oh, interesting.
And since the enchants are 75, it would, under following the exact same previous stuff, be 77, which would put it at about tier 10.
Yeah, that's kind of what I guessed when I was talking earlier. When people asked me what I expected without knowing this, I thought like maybe like 76 to 78. That's what I said.
How difficult do you want to see Uber Izaro to be?
Like not like insanely difficult for a good build, because people will still want that ascendancy point, and people will get a bit annoyed if they can't really reliably get it themselves. But I still want him to be pretty difficult, and I don't think there's much chance that he's not going to be, because if he's based the base values, you take the base values of current Merciless Izaro, who can hit really hard at the current state, even if you have an endgame build, and you take those stats and like just scale it up as mobs are usually scaled to level 77, he's going to wreck people. So I expect him to be pretty difficult, and I think it's good. It's an end game boss, a map boss. Map bosses are pretty dangerous in general. So
Yeah.
he should be dangerous. He's like at the end of the whole thing. So this time people maybe will actually go out of their way to collect trinkets sometimes for certain things that they don't want to face. So they will be like, I want to destroy this elemental weakness or this physical damage buff gargoyle instantly because I don't want to deal with any attacks from him while he has that. So yeah, maybe that could be.
Thank you, Angry AA, for the host. But no, I agree
I agree.
with that. One of the concerns is kind of be like, when you take a look at the spectrum that is Merciless Izaro, if you're doing a build to farm him, or you're just a very, very strong build, he's easier to do in hard mode than he is normal, because he has such a small amount of health. You can just one-shot him through all the phases.
That could be the case, yeah.
Now, he's going to have more health. The traps, if they follow the exact same logic as the previous traps, they should be based off percent. So the trap elaboration and design of the traps could be more difficult, but
Yeah.
you shouldn't be taking more damage. 2.3 is supposed to be the patch where they give a coefficient so that hybrid CI and low life builds don't get fucked really hard by the traps.
They need to do that, because at the moment what you can do at the moment is you can just do the Merciless Lab and then spec into full ES characters. You can just be like, okay, you know what, Shavs is level 62, I think. You're probably not going to go low life before 70. I can wait like 7 or 8 more levels and then do the lab a little bit over leveled and be fine, and then spec into low life once I get all my ascendancies down. That's something you can do, but you cannot be, I'll level to level 90 in maps and then do my 8 ascendancy point and then do low life. That's not, nobody's going to do that. This is at this point that they have
cause
to.
the situation of just paying for a run.
Yeah.
Like, what I would see
that's
if
not
I
gonna
was
be good.
playing is, hey, I got to my maps. Before I do maps, let's say it would be more efficient and just more sensible to pay 10 chaos to get a Uber Izaro run, get that power level without any risk, which then makes me tankier, or it just gives me more.
The problem about buying runs as a ES build is, you still have to run the
Oh yeah,
traps.
If they don't solve the ES problem, like that, I agree.
You still have to run the traps, which is you get the boss kill, which is usually not actually the difficult part. The dangerous part is running the traps because you screw up, you take too much damage, you die really fast, and can't.
Yeah, if you don't have Zealot's Oath, you're kind of fucked.
So yeah, that's a bit of a tricky a bit of a tricky part. But yeah,
I'm concerned about the power creep.
they definitely have to do that.
I don't think that. Like they said that they're reworking them. We saw a picture of what the Slayer is going to look like, and I expect them to just be buffing the unpopular ones and not really toning anything down.
They said they're gonna tone down the fortify effectiveness and the buff.
Did they?
But the
When was
buffs
that?
going alongside the champion fortify nodes, not taking away the permanent fortify. But if it's going to be the most reliable way, it shouldn't be also the strongest way of fortify. That's something Chris Wilson said on State of Exile quite a while back. So
Okay.
that's yeah,
Right.
I'm pretty
He
happy
said
to
he
know
didn't.
that.
They didn't want to take away the permanent fortify, but they
Yeah.
would understand if they needed to make it a little bit weaker.
Exactly, because he also gets the best fortify. Basically, he gets a fortify effectiveness move.
Yeah,
While
then
fortify.
that's one of the stupid things when you compare the Slayer to the Champion. It's like, all right, if you were using a build that used both melee splash and fortify, which is reasonable, the Slayer melee splash is inferior to
Yes.
melee splash gem. The Champion fortify is superior than the fortify gem.
Yep.
What?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. So either they should make, I mean, the Slayer gets a rework anyway, so he's a bad example. But yeah, it shouldn't. If it's the most reliable way to get something, it should usually not be the best way. But then there are curses in the game, so like you get curse effectiveness for using curse on hit, so that's kind of like,
Jackalope Gaming, the fourth
sense
lab
anyways.
is not supposed to be in maps. The fourth lab trials are in maps.
yeah. The trials
And
on
a lot of
maps.
people, the trials are the events that unlock access to the lab. So do remember that discrepancy.
Yeah, and the lab could be basically anywhere else. Could be in Act 4, in the like the statue in the middle of the thing or whatever. Like you could put a statue anywhere basically.
Someone showed the picture at like 10 seconds on the trailer video where it looks like there's a statue with the exact, not the same top design, but the same structure, and it looked like it's in Act 2 Fell Shrines.
Yeah, it looked like Fell Shrine. Yeah, I saw that as well. I'm not 100% convinced that this is
Yeah,
but it's a nice spot, and it might be the case. And if so, that person gets to say to everyone, "I told you," which is pretty cool for him.
exactly. Someone who gets the bragging rights, but realistically, all we care about is do we have 100% access to it or not?
That's
Just that is the line. Shit's given beyond that is none.
and it's hacks apparently. And another way to go with it would be another interesting thing to look at would be how difficult is it to get the trials? Will they spawn randomly in random maps? Will they always spawn in the same maps? Will they randomly spawn in
Will they
certain
spawn in red
maps?
tiers?
Will they? How far up do they go? Yeah, is it like do I have to just run crypt and stuff, or do I have to run I don't know tier 12, tier 13s to find one?
If I wasn't doing solo self-found, I think it's one of like if the spawns are common, people will just do them. If the spawns are rare, people will sell them.
Yep.
And once again, because of the change, you only have to do the trials once per account.
Yeah, that's true. But it'll be
So-
interesting how that will work. Because sometimes finding your first Zana can take ages. And sometimes
exactly.
finding your first trial can take ages, apparently.
I think on the 2 week, I didn't have my Zana till day 5.
Yeah, stuff like that sometimes happens.
That was bit of a slut.
But yeah, there's also a way of like people will either sell Zanas or you ask people on your friend list if you're not playing solo, of course. Then you can
Pretty
like, ask
sure the
other people.
trials will be in the Plaza map. Do you think they would do that? Just have all the trials in the Plaza map?
I don't think that will. I think that's just a new.
That's a very rare map. That's tier 14.
Yeah, I don't think that will do that. That would be very endgame. A bit more endgame than I would expect it to be because it is still something that.
I assume the Plaza map, because it's Aspirant's Plaza, is going to be Izaro as the boss encounter.
I hope that. I hope that.
I don't think it's the Uber Lab. I just think it's Izaro boss.
Yeah, I think a map with Izaro would be cool. I kind of was hoping that
Izaro.
for Chateau to be that, but it apparently was Argus. By the way, is the map Argus weaker than the Merciless Argus? From what
I
it
have
feels
been
like it.
told that, but
I've been hit by
I've
both.
never
and-
fought in Merciless Argus because I never found a reason to.
yeah, I fought him like just for fun because I wanted to try it, and I don't know. He seemed a bit stronger, which was weird. But that is just like a tangent of a tangent. So
I'm yeah, but if we had map Izaro, it means we could do like double Izaro, which would be kind of fun.
that would be pretty cool, yeah. I think
Yep.
that would be a nice thing to have. Just have him like in a room. And
We're gonna
maybe
get
we can
the
get double boss and boss mods as well. You can take like a boss AOE Izaro with multi-proj. Oh yeah.
I'm just like there'll be like some stupid Malachi normal balance stuff where the Uber Izaro hits as hard with all of his attacks like Tunnel Trap, and he's just like, oh my god, my anus, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, Tunnel Trap is one of those bosses that if you want your character to live, you just don't do it because you screw up once, you die.
And that's the thing. And even if you just misclick and accidentally walk towards your golem, or his animation fucks up, or he pops out of the ground hasted because there's a move speed
Yeah.
and crits you, you're just like, okay.
It's also just like if you have a golem and you enter that boss room, you're already asking to die, in my opinion. you should at least unsummon that guy.
Yeah, don't. I learned.
By the way, what did you think about the new trap they revealed? The one that you can deactivate.
Oh, so in the hardest difficulty, there's going to be traps that do damage, and they look like the curses, the curse spawns in Izaro, the totem thing, and you can destroy them.
Yeah, you can like hit them and they go like down and they pop up again after a while. And
My
start
thing is
doing
like,
that
how
stuff
do we
again.
do Merciless Lab? You take Flame Dash, Blink Arrow, or Whirling Blade. You close your eyes and you go to north. I just, how is that going to slow me down?
Maybe if it actually hits
If it has
too,
a silence,
it would be cool if it hits too hard to actually be ignored because you can deactivate it.
but the thing is, you cannot, even when something does a lot of damage because of the map, unless you have like Val Pact, you just run past everything. So if it does a lot of damage, run past it.
You're telling we need a trap that has like a red zone, and if you go in, you die. Try to run past that.
Well, if there was like a silence,
Yeah, silence would be interesting.
that would make it so that you can't necessarily run around some of the corners. It's one of those things where, because of the freedom that they have to allow due to latency, and the freedom that they have to allow due to different gear capabilities,
Yeah.
you should be able to just walk through it.
That's
Because if you
probably
can't walk through it, a build that's less optimized is going to basically, if it's less optimized to a considerable degree and you have a latency advantage over that other player, that person can't do it. So it's got to be easy for one or the other. And are you going to make the game only playable for people less than 20 ping?
Yeah,
You can't.
that's
That's
a
not
good
a choice
argument
you
as
can
well.
make.
They do kind of want to have like beginner players not get too wrecked too hard. Although if it's only in the endgame lab, if they like to only do it in the tier lab, I could kind of see that being a possibility without wrecking people too hard. Because you could argue that if you are in mapping level, your gear has to be like at a certain point at least.
But then again, it's also like when you talk about the difficulty of the Izaro encounter, even if he's going to hit it like a truck, well, then you're going to have a contagion build, which most people should be familiar, run, enfeeble temp chains, and then it's got to be hilariously easy for that build.
Yeah.
And if you make it difficult for that build, then other builds are just going to get ram fucked.
Yep. I mean, I hope it's still going to be difficult for the average build. I mean, if someone makes a build that is really good at boss killing
I
and
want
single
it to be a
target,
challenge. I want to think.
yeah, me too. I want it to be a challenge for the average build. Of course, the strongest builds should not be like what the content is made for. At least not most content. Let's put it that way. There should be. I think there should be content like, for example, core map that is made for the strongest of builds, which there is. So that's
Ideally, you shouldn't be able to just equip Marohi and face roll it like you did.
yeah, that's what I did last time. They were like, oh, Labyrinth. So, what's good against Labyrinth? Life regen, physical damage reduction. So, stack all the endurance starters, stack Fortify, use a skill that does a lot of damage, Earthquake. And yeah, I just ran through the lab. I didn't even know what the lab did, and I just ran through and tanked all Izaro phases, all traps, all the things. And it worked.
What we did see though, in like, because we got a couple glimpses of the lab There was some hilarious trap density. Did you notice
Yes.
that?
Yeah, I saw that as well. I think that's what they're trying to do. What you mentioned earlier, that they don't amp up the damage of the traps, but the combination of traps is going to be way more difficult. And one thing that they could do is that you can't run through if the trap goes further than your movement skill goes. You can't dash through all of it. And if they're like blocking like the spikes, they can actually block your way, right? So if the
True.
spikes block your way, and then they're coming like Roombas and spikes and all that stuff right in front of it, and you just like run and wait, you die.
The concern that I have is, once again, when you're balancing the difficulty, there is a huge difference between doing the lab as a Valpact build and doing the lab as a build with like 5 to 7% life regen.
That's
Like,
true.
it is pretty massive.
But unspecking
And-
Valpact is only 1 point. Is an argument you could make.
But you
You can-
normally wouldn't have any life regen on the tree because you spec Valpact.
No, that's maybe true. Well then, rip Valpact. Together with the S builds. Get wrecked. Yeah, that's true. Maybe they would have to find that. I never play
that's the thing.
Valpact builds. I don't like playing
There
these
should
builds.
be a solution, but
Yes.
once
It's not a-
again, look at
not
the
an
state
easy
of
one.
low life doing labs.
Yeah. So I hope they solve the S problem and they maybe find something for Valpact builds as well.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
That would be kind of nice. I mean, you can also do what people always forget. You can also equip Valpact, but you can also equip long-lasting life flasks. You don't have to only go instant flasks, right?
Yeah.
And that actually helps quite a bit. That's what I do when doing the trials while leveling. I usually have one non-instant flask that helps me go through the traps more smoothly. Because instant flasks actually, they don't regen. They do regen like 60% of whatever of what the flask normally does. So that's one thing people could do. That does help.
And based on if there's a larger trap outlet, something like lightning warp is going to be ridiculously powerful for getting through it.
Yep. Yeah, as well as like blink arrow or something. Everything that has no range, like whirling blades and flame dash, for example.
Was there anything else related to the lab?
No, I think lab-wise we are basically have discussed everything.
Yeah.
So new skills, we already knew all of these.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that? That the fact that we already knew all of these. I was a bit disappointed, to be honest.
Well, 2 skills are kind of one skill. Not entirely. It's not as much as the Essence String Contagion, but there's a combo there.
It's
So,
got one build.
one of
skills,
them's Totem, which,
works with phrase breakers.
yeah, sure, okay. One's an offering,
Yep.
so there's like 2 skills.
Yeah, that's like the offering is actually pretty interesting. I think it's actually one of the more interesting ones.
Really? Because that
Yes.
was one of the ones where I had issue with, because from a classic summoner standpoint, so not a build using the Necromancer to get Mistress of Sacrifice to apply the offering to themselves. The Flesh offering is so important because of minion movement speed.
That's true.
So you immediately, as a summoner using summons, you can't beat that from the clear speed point of view.
Not in an AoE scenario, but for some bosses, a lot of minion builds have problems, especially before you are itemized correctly. You have problems with running bosses that have AoE, right?
Then you have
even
Bone
with
Offering. Is it going to be better than Bone Offering for defense?
I think so, mainly because 20% all res.
20%. So, like, early leveling?
No, it's like actually 20%. Yeah, only leveling for minions. You give them a boost of extra ES, 2% of their max life as ES, and minions get ridiculous amounts of ES usually.
They
pretty
do.
fast. So that can be like, they can have like 20k life or something, and you get 2% of that as ES. So that's kind of like a way to though constantly keep healing your minions, like giving them shield.
Yeah,
Like, you
but
can
Bone
keep them
Offering gets a
alive.
huge heal on block.
Yeah, that's true as well. So Bone Offering can do that as well. So that's basically just maximum on par with Bone Offering.
Yeah,
But the
and
all res the all res is really good. The all res is definitely
Yeah,
Pretty damn
I can consider that argument in the, like, once you're still organizing your resists if your minions are dropping too fast, but when you're kind of have your build organized, would you really be using it over the Flesh or Bone Offering?
no, probably not. But I think
And then-
it's kind of like it's filling a really good niche of I really need that resist, because that is actually a problem for summoners. Once you swap to summoner, that's actually a problem that I would use this for. I think I would actually use this for that period of, let's say, level 60 to level like 75.
The Bone Heal nerf wasn't insane. It was nerfed though, yeah.
Yeah, it was nerfed, but it's not as crazy anymore. But it's still probably better or pretty good.
Then there's the other situation where you're going to be Mistress of Sacrifice. Now, one of the main things is, as a necromancer that is not a summoner, using Mistress of Sacrifice, 8 ascendancy points are too many. If they don't rework the tree so that there's some other utility stuff you can get, you get 2 points and throw away 6.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, for Mistress of Sacrifice, I think this is all right.
I think this is where it's more interesting.
Yeah, because someone said you could use that on a generic ES build and toss it on cast damage taken, for example. Get like a little bit of a heal.
Yeah, well, we have to see how it levels. That was the problem. Any of the interesting, I'm like, it's 2% base life as energy shield.
Yep.
Plus more energy shield
Maybe
per corpse consume.
Yeah, extra energy shield per corpse consume.
Maybe more per level. Yeah, and we have no idea what the values are.
Also 20% physical damage gained as chaos. Maybe that will be more as well. That's actually pretty good. That's like 20% more damage. Nice.
Yeah, and
all rest could become more as well.
Like Blade Vortex and Blade Fall, because physical chaos.
Yep.
Well, my thing was, if you could make that, you can keep that buff up 100% of the time without any investment.
Yep.
Now, in a situation of, let's say, Uber Itziri, like when you're talking about you need to absorb the hit, not random chance it. If you can get that value higher than Val Pact and have it permanently up, or sorry, not Val Pact, Val Discipline.
Val Discipline, yeah. I don't think it's going to get that high though. It would be pretty crazy.
Well, that's. I'm wondering how much you could abuse that, because you have hybrid builds where you can get both the percent life that increases the value, the percent energy shield that increases the value. Maybe.
Yeah, I love playing my summoners as hybrid, so I'm definitely going to try it out and see how that goes when I play. If and when I play a summoner, I'm probably going to revisit summoner with 8 points in Necromancer. Seems pretty interesting.
8 points in Necromancer. Yeah, I feel they need to rework the Necromancer slightly with 8 points, because a lot of the builds, if they don't adjust them thematically, they're kind of 1 to 2 choice builds. Because right now we have like 3 of 6 options. Technically, it's 6 of 12, but travel nodes. If we have 4 of 6 options, a lot of the times there's only like one more thing you wanted, and you're like, I can't get it. And now it's like, I guess I'll just take everything.
Yeah, it definitely takes away from choice. That's my main criticism about having 8 points, is that it takes away the choice, because if you get all the things you want, it's not a choice anymore. Before, for example, as a Necromancer, you always had at least one that you wanted that you didn't get. Like with most minion builds, unless you focus on 1 minion. But as soon as you have 2 minion types in your build, you definitely wanted 8 points. Now we have 8 points, so choice is gone.
Well, unfortunately, Hierophant, you still only spend the 2 points and call it a day.
That's pretty good. But that's also not choice, right? I mean, it is. You could choose strictly worse.
I'm thinking about the Righteous Fire Totem build that was the Chieftain. I'm just like, what would I even do with the 2 points?
I actually did that as well when I went through the Chieftain. I was like, don't need any of this. Like, actually not. You actually don't need any of this.
This is a piece of shit.
I really, thanks for the shitty drawing. Yeah, the shitty drawing is pretty awesome. I did that myself. Like down there, it's the monkey from the what's it called, the NPC of the expansion.
The prophecy. What's the name? Like Navali?
Navali, the Karui soothsayer.
Yeah.
And the monkey probably also has a name that I don't know, but it's the monkey. And he looks like the face looks like GLaDOS from Portal a little bit. Like just
kind of. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
That's my first thought when I saw this, was like, GLaDOS League. Nice.
I'm surprised I didn't notice that. Now I kind of want the helm.
Yep, I want the mask as well. I'm probably gonna get the supporter pack. Purple
Are you still there?
I mean, what?
That's terrible.
Face biter.
All right, Lacerate.
Lacerate, yeah. So I would say it's a leveling skill. We had like a very short discussion about this before, and yeah, I think it's a leveling skill that's not gonna see too much use in endgame. It's kind of like Cleave meets Double Strike.
Yeah.
2 of the most popular skills.
For reference, do keep in mind that in the video of Lacerate, which our hilariously casual non-tryhard podcast, it's not going to show you a video of, because non-tryhard. If you look at the linked gems, there is the increased area of effect gem linked in
Ouch.
that video.
Oh, that hurts.
Yeah, because you'll see the icon E, which
Yeah, you
means
can see the
increased.
letters. I didn't actually bother to check.
The interesting things about the skill, since it's axes and swords, and it was confirmed in a GG post, the sword and the axe can be a two-handed weapon. Now, from there, when you read the skill, it says 2 attacks
Yes.
at the start.
And if you have 2 weapons, it uses both, and if you have one, it just smacks twice.
Exactly. So
Basically attack echo.
if that means that you get a lot of damage from two-handed and you don't get penalized for not being dual wielding, it's kind of it's potentially your best skill for swords, like two-handed swords, because right now like it would have more reach than something like sweep. But outside of that,
Yeah, two-handed axe. I mean, you could still cyclone it, I guess.
well, two-handed axe would be Sunder.
Yeah, two-handed axe would be Thunder and Earthquake, of course.
Or yes, Earthquake. That's dumb.
It's
So
Thunder for
yeah,
leveling and then Earthquake for endgame.
yeah, and I'm just kind of like, that's the only spot that I can think of it being remotely usable.
I'm kind of curious to see how the single target will turn out, because they said that there will be an overlap between the 2 hits in the middle of the thing. So maybe it could be a good single target skill. That's something I would not rule out, because it is kind of like a fast double hit with only 95% base attack damage. It has a less attack speed multiplier, but I think that's mainly to compensate for the double hit being too fast.
Yeah,
Like Spell Echo has that as well, right?
my concern would be when you're going further in maps will be when you're fighting like a blue golem pack where that overlap's gonna kind of fuck you over.
Oh, that could definitely be the case, yeah.
And then for single target on melee, I've always personally been someone who uses Val Lightning Strike, which is just hilarious. If you have not used Val Lightning Strike single target on a melee build, try
I love it. It's really cool. Just like go up, multi-strike, pop, 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 dead.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, it's good on single target. Good thing I didn't need that.
I mean, it doesn't work on stuff like Izaro where you don't have the charges yet. That's because you get your Val's stuff stolen. But that's like the only thing I can imagine.
Yeah, and that
yeah, that's kind of true.
Also, new skills means new helm enchants, which means the helm enchants you want to get are all going to be rare. So realize that, everybody.
Yeah, that also affects the new lab. That's going to be good. You're gonna get all the ancestral war chief attack speed enchantments.
Oh, I'm looking forward to getting like the war chief totem getting resist helm enchant.
Oh yeah,
like,
baby.
oh yeah,
that's the best.
We're
I'm gonna make a total resist build. Yeah, spirit offering as well. You gotta get all the good enchants that you never need.
What did you think of so yeah, I don't know. I kind of agreed with Reddit and a lot of the forum posts where I didn't think Lacerate has enough to distinguish itself as a unique skill, and it's just kind of like, huh.
Yeah, if you can like pin down a skill as double strike plus cleave, it's not very unique, right? And that definitely describes most of the
or
skills.
Reeve minus damage.
Yeah, Reeve minus that's cleave though. That's cleave. So yeah, it's kind of.
That's Reeve minus damage minus area of effect.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think some skills in this game actually lack kind of an identity. For example, Cleave and Reeve are basically the same skill, with one just gaining AoE while hitting. So Reeve kind of has Cleave is just Reeve without the cool stuff, without the damage, without the big AoE, without the mechanic of you have to keep this up so you actually are pushed to play like fast paced. But Cleave is just, it's like you shoot out this wave of damage in front of your character.
Honestly, if they had it so it was like Cleave, that a chance on hit would have procced the Lacerate waves.
Yeah, something like this. Very cool. As someone says in chat as well, Jackalope Gaming says Lacerate could have some sort of bleed interaction, because
Lacerate like bleed, Lacerate, bleed. How did you miss this boat?
Maybe we'll get that through a helm enchant. That would be nice, like Lacerate causing bleed on a helm enchant.
But I personally would be very annoyed if they started using that as a precedent by making, like, when we got helm enchants, the skills were done. If they start making, because there's sometimes that one rare helm enchant, like the Earthquake reduced duration, reduced duration one, or the spark, which can now get a +3 projectile one from the merciless reserve.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, or curse effectiveness being 30% on the
Curses. I really wonder when and if they will ever revisit curses. Curses have a big problem. They are OP
God, yes.
as hell, and you get bonus. What I don't understand about curses is that self-casting curses is the least effective way to apply them, and the curse effect is also the least effective because
Yep.
Blasphemy as well as curse on hit give you curse effectiveness per quality on the gem.
You could argue that if you were self-casting them due to the multiple, like if you were properly gearing at and pushing it, self-casting them, you would link it with an empower and an enhance, which would increase its effectiveness significantly more than those two.
But you can also link it, not with Blasphemy, but with Curse on Hit, people still already link Enhance and or Empower on some of the support.
If they have the reserve available. Yeah, but if you're self-casting it, you wouldn't need any extra reserve investment.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Curse on Hitting, you also don't need any extra investment. If you're just like having, for example, I had if you play like an Ice Shot support, for example, you just...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but support, let's not go into how broken supports and curses are. That's... There's a lot of problems in that department.
I played some support; it's totally fine. I just never lost any ES on this build. Okay.
Oh my god.
And yeah, it was pretty good. But yeah, curses. There's definitely some sort of balancing problem on the high, but that's like a very high end problem that very few people will actually like ever encounter. Right?
It's you know, high yellow red tier mapping first world problem issues.
Yeah, so I can definitely see that not being too high on the list because it doesn't.
What I would love to see, and I'm curious of your opinion, it's Yoji. Okay. If they reduced the power of curses, that would allow them to put more curse effectiveness stat on the tree, and then allow curse effectiveness, like you would free up that stat to not be rare. Now, if you then have curse effectiveness that could be rolled on gear, this would make the either suffixes or prefixes more dynamic and on gear options, and this would be an alternate way to scale and increase the stat complexity rather than you get all of your curse effectiveness going to double curse, the one curse wheel, skittering ruins, and then quality curse plus the quality curse on hit or quality blasphemy. That's it.
I think that's a like nice way to would be a nice way to balance it, because that way it would still have to be very strong if you invest into it, but at least you at the moment curses even without investment are pretty damn strong. And if you invest into them, then you just start breaking the game. As Gouda has, for example, shown when he cranked temporal chains to 11 and nothing moved anymore. And now, I mean, you can still get pretty close to that. Of course, you can't stop movement of mobs anymore, but you can still get pretty damn high.
75% effectiveness.
But 75% slow enemies are really slow. They don't move much.
No, just not thumb is saying curses aren't OP. There's map mods and immune mobs and bosses reduced curse effectiveness. My argument to that is that's like saying melee damage can never be OP because there's melee reflect or physical reflect. You can roll past the map, just like that's saying any build that uses auras isn't OP because of a blood magic mod. Yeah. The curse immunity doesn't have pack size. That's the thing. Doesn't make it so you have to roll past pack size stuff. The secondary is bosses have 60% curse effectiveness, but you have builds that are pushing, 60% reduced curse effectiveness, but you have builds that are pushing upwards of 87 curse effectiveness. And
that's when it gets
just
crazy.
Watch a support build tear apart a boss and make it so that the boss does as much damage as dribbled piss.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely the case. I've cursed bosses myself and seen that the bosses that used to be really scary now just basically don't deal any damage or don't hit characters.
Yeah, can't even hit
because the enfeeble curse effectiveness is so high that their chance to hit and or crit and or do damage is.
Or the temp change plus chill is so slow. It's like, oh no, I'm gonna dodge the attack. Wait for it. Oh, he missed.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. They still get really damn slow. And yeah, I mean, there are curse immune maps, so there's a one map mod that you can't run if you rely on curses for your defensive. There's snapshotting, as Dixon Hans said, and yeah, snapshotting is a problem for most builds that run like Blasphemy curses, because it will be possible that a mob charges, like a rower charges from outside the map, or a Devo shoots from outside your Blasphemy radius.
On my
If you don't
Bladefall
have all the
Trapper,
radius nodes, then
yeah.
it's impossible.
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, if you have the area radius, like I had on my Bladefall, if it was on my screen, it was cursed.
Yeah, and mob aggro radius is limited to about like you can't they won't start charging at you from off screen at like a certain distance anymore because mobs just basically like they AFK idle up if you're not on the screen.
Actually, that's kind of one of the things that might help increase the difficulty of the game without padding numbers would be to make some of the mobs a bit more aggressive.
Yeah, make them a bit more aggressive and a little bit more coordinated, kind of like so that zombies actually like try really hard to maybe surround you and slap you at the same time, which is really dangerous if zombies.
Rather than Piranhas mobs running to you, running back, running to you, running back, running to you.
I mean, Piranhas mobs were pretty aggressive, and that actually their speed alone, their stamina actually made them dangerous. Besides the fact that they drop your
if their AI was consistently extremely aggressive, they would be a lot more threatening. But so many of the time, only like half the pack is chasing you, and then the other half of the pack is picking its nose, and you're just kind of like.
I think it probably has something to do with them trying to stay near the box or something because they always run towards the box. Which is kind of, I mean, if they could just like run away and like ignore the box, that would be annoying as well. Because if you can't like, if you come to a Piranha's box and there are no mobs there, what you gonna do? that definitely could be problematic, I would say.
That'd be. But no, that like I agree. Curses are needing an overview, to say the least.
Yep, but I would say it's not affecting enough players. I can see why it's not as high on the priority list of GGG, obviously, because it's been problematic for a while, and they've addressed this mainly by giving bosses the curse effectiveness reduction. I think that's like their main way of making it so.
I think a bit weaker than it used to be, and that's been in the game for a while. They have nerfed curses here and there, but then they put in Heretic's Veil, and then that was like, wait, what?
That was like the last. Oh my god, this is so OP unique that was added. That where people, I think at first glance, people did not really realize how crazy it was until it was utilized the first few times.
I think curse effectiveness is a lot like flask effectiveness, and a lot of people will overlook the stat and not really see how much power is in it because they're not going to look at the numbers and they don't get that immediate information.
That's true. Also, the numbers sometimes seem a bit small, but if you look at the numbers the curses have inherently, you realize that 10% is a lot.
Enfeeble needs to be 2 curses. That shit is broken.
Yeah, they could make it like 1 accuracy anti-crit one and 1 general damage one, and not.
Yeah, because it lowers crit multi on you. It lowers the critical strike of you. It lowers the accuracy, which attacks have to roll twice. Then it lowers the damage you take. It's like, okay.
Basically, if an enfeebled mob crits you, you can really complain about bad luck.
Yeah, and if it does crit you, because of the crit multi reduction and the base damage reduction, it wouldn't do more damage than it would have done if it wasn't enfeebled.
Yeah. It still does more damage than it would do with a non-crit hit, of course. But
the biggest threat of running with a curse bot, or if you're a heavy cursor, is getting complacent, forgetting that mobs actually can do damage to you, and then your aura bot fucks off and you die in 1 hit.
Yeah, either that or like you overlook that one cursor in blue pack with powerful crits, and then you take so much damage.
The one thing about the curse immune is usually stuff in Path of Exile is really hard to tell immediately, but because of the blasphemy, the curse debuff is above the mobs, it's immediately obvious if it's curse immune because there's no floating shit.
But people will still overlook it. I think it's fair. I think that is something that needs to be in the game. People have complained about this so much, but that's something like, if you are a support, it's your job in the party, for example, it's your job to call that stuff out as well. Because you're cursing, and if you see my curse not applying, you say curse moon blue pack, and then everyone's like, oh, shit! That's because that's like, you say Barris, everyone's like, yeah, whatever. Curse moon blue pack. Holy crap, this actually does damage. What is this?
Well, not if you're the Guardian, because you have fucking 24,000 armor for no fucking reason.
Yeah, okay, that's true. And also 2k ES as a non-ES build.
And you're giving them stun. Oh my god, it's just dumb.
So yeah, Guardians. But let's go away. Supports are OP. I think we established that.
Supports are OP. If you haven't played with a support, hire a Philippine slave boy. Get him to play Path of Exile. Get a support and enjoy your 100. Yep. Other than that, if you can't afford a slave European boy or Philippine boy, not European, you're doing it wrong. Right. Improve life.
Yes.
But Vortex and Frostbolt thing.
Frostbolt. Yeah, I think they're pretty interesting skills. Have we talked about them yet? No, we don't.
No.
Yeah, I think they're pretty cool. It's kind of like it's basically the opposite of Essence Strain Contagion in the way that now you, instead of having an AoE spread your single target projectile, you now have a projectile that spreads your AoE. Well, that's pretty cool. And yeah, I would say it's an interesting way to design skills. The problem is you basically design two skills for one build instead of having each skill kind of have its own build. I mean, you could probably still make like, I don't know, a Vortex Trapper or whatever if you really wanted to.
Well, the frost orb also lets you spawn
Ice Nova.
ice nova from it, which when I was first reading that, I was like, wait, is frost orb gonna allow me to use all skills? Because
Yeah,
that would have excited me.
but it just allows you to from its position cast those two skills, of course. So
Yeah, I was originally excited like all cold skills, and it's like, oh, just the two. Son
all
of a
cold
bitch.
skills would have been kind of cool. I think I don't even think that would be too OP. It just would be interesting. Well,
One of the
because you
things that I liked
could
or
play
that I
Whispering
found
Ice
really
with it.
interesting about Vortex generally is it applies chill, 100% chance, which
Yeah,
I
it chills everything in the area and applies like over time damage on
which
top
would
of a
make it
burst at the
more
beginning, right?
efficient than using like GMP Arctic Breath on a cast one damage because you'd only need one link.
It's kind of
And
like Whispering Ice, so
it,
hypothermia is pretty cool.
yeah, it also makes hypothermia potentially more have more uses. But obviously, is it going to have like contagion level of damage or is it going to be wild strike level of damage? It's an area of effect.
My
It's
guess is that Frostbolt will be the contagion level skill, and that Vortex is the actual damage skill. That's kind of what I think. How it's supposed to be, right? Because
yeah, that would make sense. The level one, which is completely useless, does as much damage as fireball, as a level one fireball.
but
So
it has
that tells
Pierce
us,
and it's a level 1 requirement skill. So you can it's basically I think what you can do with this, you can level as a Frostbolt character from like after Hillock. And then you once you get at level, let me peek, 28, Act 3, you can basically level with that through Act 1 and 2, and Act 3 with 28, when you get Vortex, you can transition into using Vortex as well, and that's also when you get your first Ascendancy, so that's when your build kind of like starts to get put together.
and you do get damage over time cold, which is interesting. The only thing you should keep in mind if you're converting your damage from cold to fire, you don't convert damage over time. It's just for all you theory crafters out there. Whenever you converting damage, you never convert damage over time.
Yep. But
Ever.
it explicitly says the spell damage applies to the dot, which is not for every dot in the game. But for this, it's kind of like Essence Strain, which also had that. So you can scale it basically like a generic cold caster and be alright.
Sorry, 1 second.
Alright. Rip that. Yeah. Frostbolt and Vortex, -1 Project PT.
I'm being professional. There's
Of
a
course, this is
construction going on, so trying to do the best.
The hell? Alright. I mean, this is not a professional podcast, anyways.
Exactly. Focus on the non-tryhard.
Hey, okay,
All right.
we got all the skills done. New items. I think we knew all the items that were revealed. Yes.
Yeah, there's the amulet. They're straightforward. There were the items that we talked about earlier. There's some uniques.
Yeah, there's the amulet that I think Bex posted on Reddit, like randomly at some point. That gives you 1000 accuracy, some dodge, spell dodge,
Oh, yeah.
cannot be blinded on an Onyx.
How often do you get blinded? I always never particularly care about that stat.
Not much. There's the Shrine and Shroudwalker. That's kind of it.
Yeah, and
And it's really annoying if you have the Shrine and you want playing a minion build, because if all your minions are blinded, that actually you notice that. But that's kind of it.
Yeah.
But the 1000 accuracy is pretty neat.
The thing about the 1000 accuracy is if you're scaling dodge and spell dodge, you're probably on the right side of the tree, which means you have a massive amount of dexterity. And though you're not at a side of the tree that's generally starving for accuracy,
That's true.
it definitely seems interesting. But at the same point in time, if the power levels of the ascendancies are still similar and you look at Quartz Plaza, it's getting really easy to get both dodge cap and spell dodge cap without that amulet. And
Yes.
amulets are very important gear slot.
Or crit especially, because crit chance, crit multi.
Flat.
The thing about
but
this though
like,
is that it's level 20 requirement, And I don't know if you ever tried to level a melee build on the right side of the tree. Because you don't get RT, and you miss quite a bit in the early game. So that could actually basically be like, kind of like an equip this, have RT until you get enough dex to kind of feel better while leveling amulet. I could see that being a thing.
Sorry. I've done a few non-crit bottom right side builds. The one that I did the furthest was like a Wings of Entropy, but it's still not that hard to push above 91% accuracy.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, just like while leveling, I can kind of see it being a thing. But I don't think there's too much need for it. Maybe block builds. The block build can use dodge as well because it layers really well.
Thing is, a normal amulet can still have 300 or 400 accuracy on it. So
that's true as well. Yeah, probably not like too much of a build enabling league then. Looks pretty interesting because it has the GLaDOS as well.
And it's going to be a decent corruption base.
Oh, that's true. Right.
All right.
Performance.
Is that
performance stuff?
General performance issues. They made the audio. They've apparently completely changed the audio system that they have, so that we're no longer, because that was a massive problem.
There were people who had to disable audio for Path of Exile to be able to play the game. And I actually know some of these people. I heard about that like a year ago for the first time. And I was like, what? Yeah, I have to play without audio, otherwise I get 10 FPS or less.
Which is a nightmare.
So yeah, I hope if this solves that for all those people, it's going to be awesome, because they can finally play PoE with sound.
And the other, Dragon, you guys think there will be an upgrade to the Bones of Earl? That'd be an interesting one to see a Fate unique, but like all of them, maybe.
Would be pretty crazy though, because that is a low-level unique that is actually used in endgame builds, and it is insanely powerful. It's basically best in slot boots for Spectre Summoners already. If they add anything to that, even if they just add 15% movement speed, that would be insane.
And because the Fate uniques will be moving out, they would be desirable for a long time. The other thing that they did is apparently, which surprised me, they're now making it so the game will load faster with background loading.
Yes.
And what surprised me was specifically that I was like, wait, this game doesn't do background loading already?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised as well, but yeah, that I
or
read
maybe
that
that's
a
just
while back that they're very bad at loading, because that's what causes all these like lag spikes, quote unquote lag spikes, when you open a strongbox and all these assets get loaded at the same time from, let's say, an exile that gets loaded in. That's using a lot of empty X's, and I think that's also the lag when people join an instance, right? When someone joins your map, you get like boop, freeze for a second.
Correct. Or, one of the often things is when you walk towards the Parandus pack while it's by a shrine, because you're drawing all those mobs at the same time. It causes nightmares to happen.
Yep.
I was just honestly like, wait, there's no background loading currently? That's extremely scary. Like, hilariously scary that it explains some things.
Yeah. It sounds like it will be overall that those are like very important basic things that finally got fixed, and I'm expecting a lot of performance improvements from this.
Yeah, and it is definitely, usually there's just like one line, normal constant improvements to performances. They're stating it in such a way that we should actually be able to notice this change.
Yes. So yeah, also loading screens, that's what they mentioned as well. It's going to be like very, very
1 or 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Which is a bit different than, some people's experiences of 3 minutes.
Exactly.
That say 2 seconds, I'm like, I have a feeling that's not.
I think connection cutting out and stuff.
For most people.
I think it's getting stuttery right now for me. Oh yeah, no, you're back apparently.
I
think Skype is being like fucked up. The audio and the visuals and everything. Yep.
Well, we want to then close things off, because I'm seeming to have either technical issues and we kind of got through everything.
Yeah, I think we're basically through it anyway. So basically, I think that's Skype's way to tell us to shut the fuck up and leave already. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. We got a lot of people in here. It's actually pretty exciting. And yeah, it's going to be on YouTube later. And if you're watching on YouTube, leave comments. I always like when there are comments. Comments are good. And that's basically it. See ya.